How's it going, everyone? What is it? Thursday. Hope you all enjoying your work day. We're almost to the uh, almost to the end. Thank God. Uh, just a quick video. I don't know. Samsung did this security update. I think it's been like a month ago, and I don't know. It changed everything, like the drag down and all kinds of shit. Anyway, it messed my phone up, right? I mean, this was like the first security patch upgrade I've ever seen where it actually physically changed my phone. Like it was just always software in the background. But this time it changed settings, it changed like the camera icon and all that. Uh, it changed like even when you're not doing anything, your phone turns off or the screen goes out or whatever you want to call it, sleep mode maybe. It changed that. Like I used to have mine kind of somewhere in the middle where it would go off like every 3 or 4 or 5 minutes. Anyway, it's all changed now, including, which I didn't know until just now, including record your screen mode. Like I just went before I made this video, I just went to look for that because all I was really wanting to do was just show you what I was talking about. That's not going to happen though because that option when you slide down is gone now. I don't know where the hell they stuck it. They might have completely removed it. I don't know. Like I said, this last security update was the first time in my life where they physically changed my phone. Like, I upgraded it because they want you to upgrade, but this was the first time it physically changed buttons and settings and all that crap on my phone. So that was kind of terrible. But anyway, since I can't show you, I'll just tell you. Um, I'll try to keep it on the short side because you understand. I'm still fascinated. I'm fascinated on like a lot of things. That geopolitical is definitely my thing, my cup of tea, history, and that kind of stuff. Being dyslexic or. But anyway, one of the things that came up recently was on YouTube was this whole thing about what did Germany just put an order in for? Was it like 15 F-35s? I think. Okay, so they're buying F-35s, whatever. So all the creatures of negativity, right? They always live in the comment box. So that's where I spend a lot of my time. Probably 60-70% of my time is in the comment box. And to this day, I'm not exactly sure if these people are serious, if they're just like misinformation robots claiming to be human. I don't know what the deal is. I have a feeling it's a little bit of both. And the thing is, it's always troubling because, once again, I'll just use the word anti Semitic, only except normally we're referring this to Israel, but it is just unbelievable, even on the American side of things, of the anti BS you find in the comment box, including from Americans. So when they made this announcement the other day that they're buying like 15 F-35s, right away you had people, oh, good way to waste German tax dollars. People saying, oh, that's a bad bird, referring to it not being a good bird, whatever. Um, Other people claiming that Germany has never been a free country since World War II, and on and on and on. First thing, all that's hyperbole. None of those things are educated thoughts. They're not educated sentiments. They're not educated um, statements. I don't know how many times you could just say the same thing over and over, but it's hyperbole. Whether it's bot information or, like I said, it's a mix of both idiot humans and bots. I think it's pretty safe to say, since the rise of AI, almost all the stuff you see now on the internet is not being typed up by a human using their brain typing stuff. They're just on the internet and they're just saying, ChatGPT, type me about Russia or something. It's all just, I think it's above 50% already. So it's hard to even trust what you read, I guess is the point. I want to go through and look at these things real quickly. First thing, on the idea that it's a waste of your tax dollars, whether you're an American typing that or you're a German saying that in the comment box. And there's a lot of these comments. It's just not true. A country, whether it was today, the 1900s, the 1800s, the 1700s, 1600s, all the way back to the time of Christ and before, a part of your preparation as a country is and always has been and always will be war. You simply must be prepared. Preparedness means that you spend money on defense. Why in the United States Constitution, taxation for raising a defense is actually a part of America's Constitution. It's not an amendment to the Constitution. It's actually written right into the text. Right? Like you see all the sovereign citizen people always say, oh, taxes are unconstitutional. No, they're not unconstitutional. It's literally written right into the text. It's not an amendment. The whole spiel about Congress has the right to tax makes it constitutional. But specifically on defense, which is written specifically in the Constitution, taxation for defense, it's all BS. I don't know what Germany spends. Obviously, I'm an American. We spend like $800 billion a year. If you want to round up and say $1 trillion, whatever. I ain't gonna bark down your throat for that. Under Trump, we're actually having a 3% cut right now, and it's not expected to be much better next year. But Germany, Britain, all those characters, right? Where they spend maybe $100 billion, maybe not. I don't know what the hell they're spending, right? Most of the Western European countries, although they're powerful per se, they legitimately are powerful. Most of them aren't spending that much money, so I don't really know. But the point, and I don't care to know because it's irrelevant. To me as an American, it's fucking irrelevant, to be honest with you. But Germany's like the richest economy in Western Europe. Okay? And if the government or its people, or it doesn't even really matter if the people want it or not, because once again, as stated earlier, you just have to have it. It's something you have to do, which is spend money on your defense. Okay? Regardless of that, you have to spend money on it. And so regardless if the majority or minority or whatever in between want it or don't want it, you just have to spend money on your defense, period. So in this case, the government decides it's going to spend money, in this case, on the F-35, okay? Now, I personally don't like American technology being sold to anyone, period. I'm that type of mindset. That being said, the F-35 is and was developed under the Joint Strike Fighter program, which gave a certain amount of countries the right to purchase, mostly because they paid money into the program. Now, but there again, that being said, I don't think Turkey should ever have it. Right? Turkey's not a good NATO ally as it is. I don't think they gave a dime for it. They're just a royal pain in the ass. Plus, they're Muslims. I just don't think you should ever give a Muslim country that stuff, especially when it's proven to be violent. And but if you think about the three main German countries, Britain, France, and Germany, they're obviously in the line always. So that being said, let's kind of transition this thought the other big comment you see is bad bird, as in it's not a good plane. Well, I don't know what they mean by that specifically, but if you're talking about right this moment, the F-35 and then well into the foreseeable future is the best bird you can buy. Okay? And so there again, if I'm Germany and I got X amount of dollars and X amount of dollars is going to be spent on my national Air Force because I feel like the Air Force can defend our sovereign territory from enemies, maybe say such as Russia, then you put your dollars wherever you think the money is best spent. And we all know in modern warfare, if you don't control the skies, you're probably not going to win the battlefield. Not unless you're hiding inside the rainforest where you're in a constant cover of trees and caves and shit, kind of like Vietnam and where America fought. I mean, okay, you're probably not going to win the war. So you got to have an Air Force. Now, it's pretty simple though if you're Germany, right? I look out into the market. I can either buy the most sophisticated airplane, which I'm a rarity. I'm actually allowed by America to purchase the F-35. Or I can decide I want to be a cheapskate and then say maybe I want to buy the F-16. I'm sure America would allow, like if Germany's chancellor came to the president and said, yeah, I'd like to buy a Block 70, 72 F-16, America's most advanced, most recent version of it. I'm sure they would probably say, yeah, sure. I don't know why you won't want to buy the F-35, but okay. I'm just saying, by the way, the F-16, great aircraft. And obviously with its new upgrades, it's even better. But obviously you're going to buy the best bird, as the comment said. But he said bad bird, but this is actually opposite as the best bird on the market today. What's better than the F-35? Nothing is the answer. I think there's a little bit of semantics here, or semantics, excuse me, because one end I think people are just stupid. Like they don't make distinguishes anymore like they're supposed to. Like the F-35 is not a fighter; it's classified as a fighter bomber. So it's basically the bridge between a fighter and then over here on this side you have the bomber. So here you have fighter, here you have bomber. F-35 falls in the center. It's a fighter bomber. It's not a heavy bomber and it's not a fighter. It's not even considered a medium bomber. I don't even think America has medium bombers anymore. Matter of fact, it might actually be classified as a medium bomber today. Who knows? But basically, its main specialty is, but it's really kind of hard to even make these distinguishes anymore because of how advanced technology has become. But its main purpose is to blow shit up on the ground. That's its main purpose. Right? You wouldn't want the F-35, say, fighting an F-22. Now, fortunately for America, it dominates the air. There's just nothing that can compete against it. So it's not really been a problem for America since probably like Vietnam, really. And that's why all the world buys our aircraft. Those who get lucky enough to have the opportunity. But my point is, it's mostly looking down. It's not the F-22 looking forward, trying to dogfight you. Plus, dogfighting doesn't exist anymore. So, everything is killed beyond visual range, BVR, right? But it's mostly it's mostly classification as a bomber. It has the fighter element because it's capable of defending itself in the air. But it's mostly designed, you see the Army tank down there? Boom. You see that radar installation? Boom. You see that missile? Boom. Right? And these things are so much more advanced today. So people don't even make the classification, I think, is part of the problem. Okay. And then there's the other problem, I think, too, where they say, well, the F-35 is cheap. It's cheaper, maybe, but you should ask the American taxpayer, which paid the majority of this. Not that cheap. And secondly, cheap as in it didn't take it took a lot of shortcuts in its design. It didn't take as long to design it. But it's not cheap to the standard of what you're comparing it to, for example. Broadly across the world, right? The Mirage isn't better than it. The Eurofighter isn't better than it. The Sukhoi, 57, the Felon, not better than it per se, but at the same time, the Felon's designed to be a fighter jet. Okay? But it's not even as advanced, so it's irrelevant in the conversation. India, China, you just go across the world, and then most of the world don't even have the technology to produce aircraft. So it's a small list, but it's better than all of those things as far as its competition goes. I mean, you can just start putting things in that class. And honestly, on the outside of the F-35, the only two jets that might actually be capable of defeating it would probably be the F-15 and the F-22. And I say the F-22 because the F-35 Stealth and the B-21 Skyraider coming in the future, their stealth design is based off what they learned from the F-22 stealth technology put into it. It's still classified, and it's classified, I think, beyond my life, unless I live to maybe be 100 or something. Probably not. At the rate I'm going, probably not, right? So I'm just pointing that out. Like, people gotta kind of get a grip. I got a ride here, so I'm just checking the time. Sorry about that. People gotta get a grip on reality. Okay? The other idea that people have that's a real popular fake narrative in the comment boxes is the concept of a kill switch, which isn't a thing. There's no such thing as a kill switch in these aircraft. Right? If Britain buys an F-35, American DC isn't pushing a button and all of a sudden the plane just stops working on an air pilot or a British Royal Air Force guy or Germany or France. It doesn't exist. And the only reason why this has become a thing, and I forget who brought it up, it might have been Trump himself that brought it up, but Trump says this stupid shit all the time. I voted for the guy, but he's actually irritating. He says so many stupid things. It's not collaborated. It was never any kind of privileged information or anything. He just says stupid stuff. And it's not true. It's never been true, by the way. So, and another example of this kind of Israel, when they were actually negotiating their buying of their F-35, what's it called, the IDOR or something like that, F-35, whatever it's called. Anyway, they actually are the only country that was able to get the manufacturer to opt them out of what everyone else is under, which is the system, which is, what I mean by this is, Israel wanted to have the right to fine-tune their own aircraft, built for essentially their environment that they fight in. So, which means they had to be given the source code, and they were given the source code. Over time, they allowed them. So, Israel does their own fine-tuning on their F-35, but they also still get all the upgrades that the Western nations get, plus their own fine tuning. So it might be actually the most advanced F 35 anywhere in the world. It certainly is the only one kicking ass, right? But they'll all kick ass. But Israel's obviously proven it, right? So, but I'll give you an example of this. Say since like the Korean War, Americans have known that Russia has like 20 frequencies they use for their radars. And all those known radar frequencies are loaded into a database. And when American advanced fighters are flying around, they're searching the sensors, boop, boop, boop. They detect one of those 20 known Russian frequencies they use. Maybe they take it up to 90, and then maybe sometimes they take it to 50 or whatever. It's like your favorite song on repeat. It's saved into a database, and it has been saved in a database for a really long ass time, like at least since Desert Storm, but they were probably collecting this shit long before that, right? But technology is making it more relevant now with computers, right? And now AI. But over time, let's say Russia realizes like, oh shit, America can kill all of our stuff, so they start introducing new frequencies and new sounds to the stuff they already used. Well, there again, all these American aircraft flying around, boop, 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 sensors, boop, 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 right? They're detecting what may be new frequencies, new, waves, whatever. And all these things are constantly being added to the Western database, which then America shares with the Allies. Now, it's not solely America, right? Britain, France, Germany, Norway, Finland, whoever, right? They're all in the modern age using sensory, and they're all detecting things. And all these things are being added into the database. These are where those soft grade upgrades for the F-35 are particularly useful. Because if your adversary over time is changing its, I don't know, let's call it its dance moves, right? You want to be able to counter them. And in modern times, when you talk about stealth technology, it's not just the aircraft is stealth per se because of reflective coating. That's a big part of it, but it's the jamming of computer. It's all that breaking up frequencies. It's a mixed bag, hodgepodge of everything. But this is particularly where all this stuff comes effective. It's not just to go kill it, which is a great thing, but it's also to keep your pilot from dying. It's what keeps it survivability. Okay? So, like I said, people gotta wisen up. I'm not a German, could care less what Germans do with their money, but the idea that you spend nothing, or the idea that you're buying the bad bird when in fact you're buying the best bird, it's a stupid statement. And people gotta wisen up. Countries will always spend money on their nation's defense, and I guarantee you, newsflash, Western Europe, if America wasn't in NATO, okay, for 100 years, not literally, but you know what I'm saying, your countries right now would be spending a lot fucking more on their national defenses. Because on the outside of China, the European countries are the richest countries in the world. I mean, what does, I don't even understand, I don't remember right off the top of my head, but what is the Western wealth collectively worth? Is it like 45% of all the world wealth is in the West? It's going to continue for a long time. It may even in the age of quantum computers and AIs, which maybe will be alive, maybe won't. But my point is, those efficiencies are going to continue to make our corporations efficient and everything efficient, more efficient, that means more money coming back into the coffers of countries. They're going to continue to get richer from it, is what I'm trying to tell you. Yeah, you got the social welfare that's bankrupting you, but you're also simultaneously bringing in higher revenues. I don't know. Like I said, there's no real argument to that. There's just people who are idiots who don't seem to understand these things. They don't grasp it. I don't understand it personally, but that's where we're at today. Just idiots, basically. So, what's the other thing I was going to say? Oh, Germany being slaves. We haven't been our own country since World War II. That's stupid. You guys are a country. An independent country, and you have been independent now for a really long time. Too many years that I'm willing not to count. But you've been, basically since the fall of communism, a free country. And even when the wall was up, the west side was free Germany. You are a free country. Once again, I think the argument here from the professional agitators on the topic, who are morons, obviously, is that they just don't want to spend money on their military because they're like childish human beings that don't understand that warfare is inedible. It's always going to happen. It's always been, always will be. And you can see it right now. Even in your own world, you can see it. Are guys like Vladimir Putin ever going to stop being dictators? No. Are they going to be not be national presidents? No. Jinping in China is basically a lifetime dictator from his own Communist Party, voting on the stuff he wants to do. They've basically given him power forever. They're not the only ones. Virtually every Muslim prince, king, president across the world, they all have visions of conquest. Now some of those people, you can take I think Saudi Arabia probably off that list, but a lot of the Muslim countries that are bad news, they all have conquest and vision. Ottoman Empire, baby. And by the way, we're not even talking about in America's own backyard, Central America, South America. There's bad apples in those countries too. As long as you have people like that, warfare is always going to happen. Even if America's peaceful, even if Western Europe is generally peaceful, and we generally are peaceful countries, you have to fight. Once again, freedom isn't your DNA. You're not, as Ronald Reagan famously said this, it's not in your DNA. It's not like your blood. You're born with blood. Freedom is something you must constantly fight for. Because most of your enemies, the reason why they're able to even do the things they do is because they lack freedom in those countries. It's always got to be fought for. And then amongst all those things, you got to decide, unfortunately, things like, okay, well, you got to decide what battles you're going to fight. Because there's always going to be battles to fight. So you got to pick them. Which battles are you going to pick? Which battles are you going to jump in? Like, for example, is there a legitimate genocide somewhere happening in the world? Maybe you don't want to see 1 million people slaughtered and killed. So maybe you want to jump into that battle and stabilize their area. Okay? A lot of times people just sit on their hand. That's actually the majority of the time. That's another thing about warfare. It's all ugly. But what people don't understand, the vast majority of war, considering the Western world, there's a lot of fighting they could be doing. But most of the stuff that they just sit on their hands and never respond to and just allow it to happen. I'm in my 40s now, but when I was in my teens and early 20s, back then they classified that just in the continent of Africa, there was 250 wars simultaneously taking place. Anything and everything from bow and arrows and spear type warfare to machine guns and tanks and old World War II airplanes and Korean Vietnam stuff. So every form of warfare basically taking place on backwards Africa. And a lot of shit happened, right? Rwanda happened in my lifetime where like over 300,000 people were massacred. I can't even remember now. Was it the Tutsis or something like that? Yeah, those people being killed and slaughtered for no reason. Don't you think those people would have loved to have some intervention help from Europe, NATO? Yeah, they never got it though. Clinton did nothing. That's what I'm saying. Most people don't do nothing. So you got to decide really where you are as a person. There's got to be a balance, right? Because it can't be like, oh, we're never going to fight a war because that's nothing. It doesn't exist. No, it does exist. It's always going to exist, and you as a country need to be prepared for it. Which goes right down the channel of protecting your national interests. Maybe you have oil fields in Africa. Maybe you have a car factory in Africa, or maybe you have diamonds in Africa. There's always national interest because countries have what's called partnerships. So you have to always be ready. Anyway, that's it. You guys are smart enough in my channel to understand this. Talk to you later, guys. Enjoy your work day, and let's get through Friday. Bye.